Hi guys, how are you? So today we are gonna cover the old city of the Istanbul, the Constantinople. So you can see the Marmara Sea back there, and ahead of me the Bukaleum Palace stands. So I'm gonna show you it, and we're gonna start. Okay, let's go. All right, you can see it. Let's go and walk and talk about the history of Istanbul. So let me show you the right side. You can see the Aegean side in there. The Aegean side, and this is actually the entrance of the Bosphorus Strait. And right here, the Sea of Marmara, the inner sea of Turkey. And here, the entrance of the Bosphorus Strait, and it's going almost 32 kilometers long to the north, and that's the Black Sea. Here you can see the Bukaleum Palace. It's under restoration right now, and we're gonna walk to the Sultanahmet area, Sultanahmet Square, top on the hill, the first hill of the Istanbul, because Istanbul, as you know, it was built on the 7 hills like Rome. Actually, the first city here was built in 7th century BC, according to the written history. We know this from Strabo. He wrote a book called Geographica, and we read these things from him. And also there is a legendary saying, the King Bizas went to the Apollon temple and consulted with the oracle to where he's gonna settle or where he's gonna build his first city. And the oracle told him to find a place opposite the blind people's land. He had no idea what they meant, but somehow he came here. He migrated to the east, and he found this first hill. I'm gonna take you there right now. And there was nobody here. It was a nice place because, you know, there is a Sea of Marmara here and the Bosphorus Strait over there, and maybe later I'm gonna cover the Golden Horn, meaning Bay, Haliç Inlet. And yeah, he found this place. He wanted to stay here. He wanted to build his first city here. But he also wanted to justify the words of the oracle. And actually he looked at the other side of the city. Today we call that place Kadıköy. And he saw an earlier settlement in there, you know. He was surprised actually, you know, because instead of this beautiful place, he didn't understand why those people went there and they settled there. They settled down there. And then they thought, oh, yeah, they must be blind. That's why they didn't see here. We found the blind people's land, and opposite the blind people's land is here. And so I'm gonna build my city here. That's the starting of the first city. And then later, people started to call the Byzantium. That means the city of Bizas. Yes. And Byzantium, the Roman period. And then later, Hadrianus, the emperor, came here. We're gonna talk about it. Actually, probably he started to build some aqueducts here. Okay, ahead of us, you can see some columns spread over there. I mean, we have so many ancient ruins in Turkey. It's unbelievable. I just told you the first city which was built according to the written history in 7th century BC, but probably much more earlier people lived in here. And we had a subway construction near the old city, and actually they were digging a tunnel underneath the Bosphorus Strait to connect the Asia and Europe. But then later they found some old shipwrecks in there. Unbelievable. They all belong to the medieval era. Almost 36 shipwrecks, the Byzantine Empire period. And they stopped construction working, and they called the archaeologists, and everybody came there and they started to dig. Oh my God, unbelievable. They found so many items, and they wanted to dig further down, and they found earlier items. Amazing. Even footsteps of the people in there, because it was silted up, it was protected like yesterday. Little boats, some little oars for the boats, still intact with their cargo. Cherry stones inside, butchered animal bones. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I think it was a 2004 or something. And they are still excavating, and they're still making some restoration work. We are still waiting for the exhibition, but yeah. Okay, everybody. We just entered to the old city, so you still can see the Marmara Sea over there. All these cars and tourist buses entering here. The most famous attractions of Istanbul up in there, and especially choiced this route to show you a few interesting buildings, hidden gems. For example, here on the left hand side you can see the Küçük Ayasofya Mosque, or Little Ayasofya. We call it Little Ayasofya. It's actually Sergius Bacchus Church. Okay, everybody, ahead of us you can see a wall. I need to cross, so let me show you the last part of the Hippodrome. Can you believe it? Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Generally, everybody thinks nothing's left from the Hippodrome, but look at that. This is the last part of the Hippodrome. We call it Sfendone, U-shaped part of the Hippodrome. It's curving like this, and I just wanted to show this to you. This is beautiful. This is great. Oh my God. Look at this. There are some buildings on top of it. Unbelievable. There are some buildings on top of it. You can see the arch-shaped wall. And let me show you the picture up there. Look at that. Look at that. This is great. I was planning to add this picture, but I got it already. Okay, you can see we are right here, and this is the U-shaped part, and this is the old city, the historical peninsula. Actually, you can see the Bosphorus Strait, and to the left, Golden Horn, Haliç, Little Inlet, Little Bay, and the European side, of course. This is the old city side of the European peninsula, European continent. You can see the business district area over there. And of course, the right hand side, the Aegean side. Yes, this is the Hippodrome racetrack, U-shaped part, this Fendon area. So we're gonna go up. Yeah, we know that Septimus Severus came to this city actually. He had a battle with Niger, and he defeated him. But at the war, this city supported his opponent, and Septimus Severus was really angry, and he destroyed the city actually. And then later, he built the walls of the city back, and probably he started building the first hippodrome here. There are actually cisterns inside of this part of the hippodrome. We know that we already entered there, and that they are planning to excavate. They are planning to clear that area, restore it, and they are planning to open it. But I'm not sure when. Okay, guys, look at there. You can see the minarets of the Blue Mosque up there. Those towers are the symbols of the mosques. They needed to call people to prayer, and they were going up, the high places, so everybody could hear them. Then they started to build high towers like this, and today we have minarets in mosque architecture. Alright guys, there are a lot of yellow caps here in Istanbul, like New York. Of course we have orange too. Alright, you can see still it's the hippodrome walls, parts of the hippodromes. And now today you can see a cafe. On the right hand side you can see some shops. For example, there's a carpet shop here. If you go down in there, under the shop, you can see a underground cistern. It's really amazing, interesting. There's a mosque here. There are a lot of mosques in the Istanbul. I'm not sure, but they say 3,500 mosques in Istanbul. Some say it's more. And look at there. We see a column right here. This is the column of Constantine Porphyrogenitos. Actually, we are not sure when they erected this column. Probably this one was built by Constantine the Great, because he always wanted to bring one obelisk from Egypt, but he couldn't make it, It's really hard work. You're gonna see an obelisk from Egypt up there. It came to Istanbul during the reign of Theodosius I. Look at here, oh my God. You can see there are Ottoman buildings up on there. Look at here. Let's touch the history, everybody. Oh my God, can you imagine the workers, probably slave construction workers, so many people, thousands of people, maybe 10,000 of people worked here to build this gigantic Roman buildings. Up there, Blue Mosque. Of course, it's not blue from outside, but I'm gonna take you inside of the mosque. You're gonna see the beautiful blue tiles up in there. Yeah, we were talking about that old city subway construction, right? Yeah, we found a lot of things in there. Archaeologists found a lot of things in there, and they told us they all belong to the oldest items belong to the 5,000. Oh my god, beautiful, nice seagulls, lots of birds, even parrots you can see here in the Topkapı Palace. Tourist court area. I'm planning to cover Topkapı Palace later, so you can go there too. There are some construction workers. You can see the Kılıçhane, the old sword school here from Ottoman times. Okay, everybody. We just climbed the hill and we are here on top. This is my first shooting, that's why I'm a little bit inexperienced. I'm just trying to record everything I can. So you can see here. So I'm planning to broadcast this. I also need some edits. Yeah, they all belong to the 5,500 BC. That's why today I can tell you the city's history goes back to the 7,500 years. Okay, look at here. There is a building here, and you remember we just climbed the hill from down and up here, and I showed you the U-shaped part, and that's behind this building. U-shaped part like this, you know, and we turn back. You see the Hippodrome area right now, the racetrack. The chariot races were held in here. Right here, they were probably running and turning from here, U-shaped part, and they were going back. Oh my god, I'm not sure if I can make some editing work when I got home, but let me see. Yeah, this is the Hippodrome, the full size. There is one obelisk here and the Serpent Column next to it here, short one, and back there the Egyptian column, and maybe you can see the green dome over there. That's a fountain actually. It's a gift from Germany. We're gonna talk about it later, but yeah, it was probably the starting point of the races. And you know what? There was a monumental building there. We called it Calcareous, and 12 gates. And there was a monumental gate in there, and on top of it, there was 4 bronze horses, which can be seen in St. Mark Cathedral Basilica in Venice today. I'm planning to add all those horses here. Yeah, they were right in there. But unfortunately, they were plundered. They were stolen in 13th century, 1204. The famous sack of Constantinople. The Latin Christians, Fourth Crusade, came to Istanbul and they looted the city. Actually, they helped Crown Prince Alexios to ascend the throne, and he had promised them. Wow, lots of Chinese groups began to come to Turkey again. That's a good news. That's a good news for everybody, for all my Chinese-speaking guides, friends. Yeah, we had a pandemic stop, and it took so long. And it started again. Recently, we have some wars in the world, and that's another problem, and it affects everything, you know. But we are safe, we are doing good, and you can see lots of people coming here and enjoy the old city, the new city side, the most beautiful city of the world, Istanbul. Yeah, there is a saying, Napoleon Bonaparte told this: if the world is a country, Istanbul is the capital of it. Yes. Okay, let's have a look at this column and let's talk about it. Oh my god, you can see lots of holes on it. Probably there were some inscription here, or if you look at the body of the column, you can see another holes too. It was covered with beautiful bronze plates, but they all were stolen. They all were melted down probably. And as I told you, we are not sure who erected this and when it was erected, but we have a writing here. It says 10th century AD, Column of Constantine Porphyrogenitos. Porphyrogenitos means the one who was born into Porphyry room. It was a room in the Great Palace. By the way, the Great Palace starts from here. Now the Blue Mosque sitting on it, of course. But from Blue Mosque, you're gonna walk there. Across the Blue Mosque, there is Hagia Sophia. And from Blue Mosque to the Hagia Sophia and down to the Marmara Sea, we just walked up from there, right? And down to the Marmara Sea. This whole area was the Great Palace of Constantine the Great. And inside these palace buildings, there was a room covered with porphyry marble, which came from Egypt. It was only in Egypt. You cannot find anywhere in the world. It's a reddish purple marble. And purple was also the color of the empire. Emperors were wearing purple regalias clothes. And it was a rare color that was color of the empire. And there was a room covered with porphyry marble stones. And if you're born in that room, that means you are a member of the royal family. And if you're a boy, probably you are the next future emperor. That's why they got a title, Porphyrogenitos. You can see here, 10th century AD, Column of Constantine the Porphyrogenitos. Constantine the Seventh, by the way, he restored this column. Yes, it looks like an obelisk from Egypt. And we have an obelisk over there. Actually, Porphyrogenitos, all emperors had that title, but only Constantine the Seventh used that title because they wanted to emphasize his royalness, because there are a lot of shady issues about that history, because emperor had a lover. We are not sure his real father, and maybe we can talk about that later, detailed historical talks. And ahead of us now, you can see the Serpent Column. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. This is actually a snake column. And you can see the intertwined snakes here. There are 3 intertwined snakes, and there were, of course, 3 heads of the snakes. And we know that there was a golden cauldron on top of the heads. And it was actually here until the 16th century, probably, if I'm not wrong, because we have some miniatures from the Ottoman times, and we can still see those hats. Maybe they just imagined, I'm not sure, but yeah, probably they were broken or they were stolen during the reign of Ottoman Empire. And actually we found one jaw of the hat near the Topkapı Palace during the excavations. So it's exhibited in the Istanbul Archaeological Museum. If you are interested, I'm really recommending you to go to the Istanbul Archaeological Museum. It's amazing place. Probably later we can cover that museum too. Okay, this is the Serpent Column, the Snake Column, and actually this thing was built in Greece, and this thing is coming from Greece. I'm sure you are familiar with the Greek and Persian wars. And there was a war in 5th century BC, 479, it's called Plataea War. And the Greeks won that battle. And to commemorate that victory, actually, they made this serpent column and they erected it into the Apollon temple in Delphi. We know that. And you know how they made it? They melted down the Persian soldiers' weapons. Their swords, their shields, their spears, and they made this bronze column and they erected it into the Apollon temple in Delphi. And Constantine the Great brought it to here. And we know that these, you can say, the Greek NATO of that time, they also write their names, that Greek states, almost 31 Greek states united, and their names are written right here actually, but it's really hard to see. I'm gonna try to zoom. Okay, here, I found it. Okay, you can see the names are written here, all those United Greek states. Yes. I'm gonna show you the Egyptian column here. This is coming from Egypt. You can see the hieroglyphs on it. And actually this is taller than this. Probably today we have only 20 meters of it, but it was as tall as this one, I think. And if you go to the Amun-Ra temple in Karnak in Egypt, you can see another pair of this column. And look at that. There is a marble pedestal down the column. It's also very old and historical because it is from the 4th century AD. We don't have a lot of things from 4th century AD here in Istanbul actually. This is very precious marble pedestal, and of course this granite column coming from Egypt. It's a long way. How they managed to bring this thing, I'm not sure, but maybe they made a wooden coverage or something. Of course they used the Nile River and from there Mediterranean Sea, and right there the Bosphorus Strait, and they came here. We know this thing waited in Alexandria port almost 60 years. Okay, this granite marble, this granite stone coming from Egypt, you can see the Tutmosis III on top of it, and with the Amun-Ra, the god Amun-Ra, one of the pharaoh, the king, we can say the Tutmosis III on top of it. Oh my God, we know that he lived in 15th century BC. That means I mean, you can see the Amun-Ra right here and Tutmosis III. And we know that he lived in 15th century BC. That means this granite column is 3,500 years old. Can you believe it? Oh my God, 3,500 years old. And down here, the marble pedestal, 4th century AD, 1,600 years old. And right here in Istanbul, in the old city, in the middle of the Hippodrome, it's standing here. This is unbelievable. And also we know this thing waited here in Istanbul too for a long time, but probably during the reign of Theodosius I, because we have his carvings right here down in the pedestal. Theodosius I, one of the prominent emperor of the Roman Empire, He is the one who split the empire into two, actually. He gave the western part of the empire his one of his sons, Honorius, right here on the left hand side you can see his two sons, and he gave the eastern part of the empire to his another son, Arcadius. As you know, the western part collapsed in 5th century AD, but the eastern part, right here, the capital of the Roman Empire, the second capital of the Roman Empire, Constantinople, Istanbul, continued until the first Latins and Turks came here. You can see the charioteers down in there, because the chariot races were held in here in the Hippodrome, right? We have inscriptions, the Greek and Latin inscriptions here, and it says they erected this column in 30 days. The other inscription says 32 days. I'm not sure which one is right, maybe a misinterpretation. And here also you can see the Theodosius I again, and down in here some Persians, some barbarian subjects. They are offering their gifts to the emperor. We covered the Carceres. I told you it was right in there. Today we have a German fountain monument in there. Here, probably right here or just across the Egyptian obelisk, around this area, it was the Katisma. I mean, this place, the royal box, royal lodge for the emperor. It was the great palace of Constantine, right, and it's connected to the palace building directly. You can imagine this is the Katisma, you know, it was connected to the great palace, and emperor were going up and he was coming here, and this was the place where the emperor met with his people. And here, all this hippodrome, imagine thousands of people gathered. They say 100,000 people capacity, but probably it's a little bit exaggeration. We can say the 50,000 people. I'm not sure if I can make some editing here. You know, they were here, they gathered here, and there were races every day, almost every day. And they were doing the race 7 laps. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is the U-shaped part of the hippodrome. Imagine people shouting here. Yeah, you couldn't walk in the streets by saying, I hate emperor, or cussing, or any words. I'm not sure. You couldn't say your real thoughts in the city. I hate emperor, you know, like this. But here you could shout all together. And there were a lot of teams, there were a lot of supporters, and there were actually 4 main teams called blues, greens, reds, and whites. We know that reds and whites entered to the blues and greens later, and that there were actually 2 main factions. They were not just the team colors, they were the colors of their faith. They were the colors of their political mind, political idea, everything. And it's really interesting. Actually, they were rival, but they got the names blues and greens. Blue and green, it's really interesting. We have different names for the blues and greens in Turkish, also in English maybe, but for example, in Japanese, I can speak Japanese too. I learned it in university. I studied Japanese language and literature in university, and I have been guiding for a long time Japanese people too. Now I'm guiding here in Istanbul city tours in English, but for example in Chinese too, right? In Japanese too, there is one word for green and blue. You can understand what you mean from the context. Actually, they are not that different. You know, they are just the same. They are like brothers. They are like rival brothers. You know, they live here in Istanbul, in the Constantinople. They are the parts of the same family. They are the arteries of the city. When the emperor comes to the Katizma, like sun rises in darkness, it was something like that. They were shouting, they were telling everything, they were supporting, and the emperor understood if he really doing well. When he comes to the Hippodrome, if they were shouting, they were supporting him, he understood he is good, nothing's wrong. But if they were shouting bad words, or if they were complaining like dismiss this minister, dismiss, remove that guy, something like that, or we are hungry, or we don't like this, we don't like that, he wouldn't stand. He would sit there, and if they were mentioning good words about the emperor, he was standing. And if he approved a thing, he was raising his right hand. Yeah, there were a lot of things. This is the place where the emperor and his people met. They executed people here. They celebrated festivities. They did everything here. I mean, this is the heart of the city. Actually, there was a saying, the hippodrome belongs to the people, and the palace belongs to the emperor. And right there you can see the Hagia Sophia church. Of course, it is a mosque right now. We call it Hagia Sophia Mosque, and Hagia Sophia belongs to the god. This was a famous saying back then here in the heart of the hippodrome. Yes, Constantine, the Porphyrogenitos, Constantine the seventh column right in there, and here the Egyptian column from Egypt, and between them there is the Serpent Column coming from Greece. The Serpent Column 2,500 years old, and here we have the Egyptian column 3,500 years old, and probably almost 1,700 years old, the column of Constantine the Porphyrogenitos, or wallet column we call it. And right here, that's the German fountain, which came from Germany. The German people made it and they ship it to here. We had a good relationship with German people. As you know, we entered the First World War with Germans. Actually, we had them build railroads. Actually, the first railroad was built here in Turkey by British people in Izmir. And then later, Ottomans also managed to build some railroads in Marmara region. Then actually from Konya to the Baghdad, famous Baghdad railroads. They built so many railroads for us. We bought a lot of weapons from Germans. And William Kaiser II, the king of Germany, came to Istanbul 3 times. I think when his second visit, they erected this German fountain right here. Maybe later we can go there and I will show you the inside of the dome. Yes, we also have famous Haydar Pasha train station in the Aegean side in Kadıköy. There is a nice saying by Murat Gül: if the German fountain was the engaging ring, the Haydar Pasha train station was the generous dowry. Yeah, that's exactly true. Okay, right here, I'm not sure, I'm just thinking if you can say a lot of, we didn't mention about Latins came here, they looted everything. They used the Serpent Column as a fountain, actually. I'm not sure why those Latin Christians didn't take it. Probably they used this as a fountain too. We found a lot of pipes inside. We know that they used it. There was a belief back then, they were believing this snake column. This column is protecting city from poisonous snakes or poisonous creatures. Maybe they had also the same faith. I'm not sure. And right here we have a palace building. The famous Grand Vizier Ibrahim Pasha Grand Vizier of the Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent, Ibrahim Pasha Palace. It's a museum right now. It's a really nice Islamic art museum. If you go inside, if you enter there, let's go there. Let me show you some parts of the Hippodrome actually, you know. There are some parts of the Hippodrome. By the way, let me cover the Hippodrome area again and again so we can maybe make some editing works so you can see how it was like back then. Museum of Turkish and Islamic Art. I'm gonna take you there, but oh my god, look at there. Now you can see the Hagia Sophia, but unfortunately it's really not a good time for me, for you to cover it, but it still really looks great. The dome of the Hagia Sophia, and it's under restoration right now. Look at that. Oh my god, it looks really great. Wow, I never seen such a restoration before. They were telling us it's gonna take one generation, maybe more, you know. It looks like that. Look at that. Oh my god, beautiful. Yeah, we have a lot of structural problems with Hagia Sophia. We're gonna cover it later. Here, right here, you can see the blue mosque and Egyptian obelisk and Serpent Column and the column of Constantine Porphyrogenitos. The U-shaped part of the racetrack over there behind that building. Of course, there were seats of the Hippodrome around the racetrack, and there was a spina wall, we call it spine. Onto that spina wall, they erected these columns, you know, the Serpent Columns and Egyptian columns and other statues, monuments here actually. Yeah, the Theodosius the First is really important because he is the one who split the empire into two. He gave the western part of the empire his son Honorius, and he gave the eastern part of the empire to his another son, the Arcadius. And until the Turks conquered the city in 15th century, 1453, yeah, this was the city of the capital of the Roman Empire. He declared the Christianity to be the official religion of the empire, state religion. This is very important. He came to power 379, I think 378, and he had Council 381 right here in Istanbul, the famous Council of the Christianity. We have a lot of events here right in Turkey for the Christendom. Famous Nicene Creed. It was first defined here in Iznik, in Nicaea. In 325, Constantine the Great brought the bishops and gathered bishops in there. And also the 451, the famous Chalcedon or Chalcedon Council. Okay, right here, the Sultanahmet Mosque, everybody. I'm gonna take you there right now. Let's go enter from the gate C. You can see it 1609 and 1616. This mosque was built in 7 years, in 17th century, during the reign of Sultan Ahmed I. Actually, this is the main entrance. We just entered to the first courtyard or outer courtyard. And when you go enter from here, all right. Beautiful. We just entered to the second courtyard of the mosque. You can say inner courtyard of the Blue Mosque. Yes, there is a ablution fountain in the middle of the mosque. You can see it's not used anymore, of course. And look at here, you can see the marbles everywhere. Actually, I'm gonna go to the Hagia Sophia later. I'm planning to cover Hagia Sophia later, but we're gonna see a lot of beautiful porphyry marbles in there too. And right here in the Blue Mosque also you can see the famous Proconnesian marble, which came from the Sea of Marmara. We call this the Marmara marble. Actually, the name of the sea also means marble, the Sea of Marble, Marmara. It's derived from the word of marble because there are a lot of islands, isles in the Marmara Sea, and they are quarrying those marbles from there from ancient times. And look at the marbles, there are gray veins on it, and it's special type of marble. It's special type of marble you cannot see anywhere. This is the famous marble. The building, the mosque actually was built with limestone, but down in here in the covering ground and the bottom of the building they inlaid a lot of marbles. Probably they took these marbles from the Hippodrome, you know. Next to it, it's the Hippodrome. They brought a lot of marbles from there. And you can see these columns also, different types of columns, different shape of columns. You can see they just took the columns of Hippodrome because Hippodrome was an abandoned ruins at that time, you know. We know that from the miniatures, or we know that from engravings. It was covered. You can see the ablution fountains, faucets, little taps down in here. You wash your hands, your face. You're making wudu ablution before prayers. And we have restrooms here. Actually, there is a special gate, private gate for the tourists. And it's almost the prayer time right now. They closed it. So I'm gonna take you to the main entrance. We have a lot of minarets. Actually, we have 6 minarets right in here. And when they built it, actually, there was only one mosque in the world with 6 minarets, and it was in the Kaaba Mosque. It was the Kaaba Mosque, the Holy Shrine, the Mecca Mosque. The Imam of the Kaaba Mosque was angry because we built 6 minaret mosque here. And they say he asked the Sultan why he built 6 minarets in Istanbul. And our Sultan, Sultanahmet I, told him, "I'm so sorry. Actually, I didn't want to build 6 minarets. I told the architect to build just 1 minaret. There are another 2 over there. I told the architect to build just 1 minaret, but golden minaret." But in Turkish, we say almost the same word for both words. We say altın for golden, and we say altı for 6. It's almost the same pronunciation, and that's why the architect misunderstood. He mistold on me, and he built the 6 minaret here. Of course, this is a legendary story probably, but we know that the Sultan Ahmed I gifted the 7th minaret to the Kaaba Mosque. He commissioned 7 minaret in the Holy Land, and just because of that, maybe they made it up. I'm not sure, but it's a nice story. You can see the people making ablution here. They're washing their hands, their faces, their arms, their hair, and their feet. Yeah. Okay, the Blue Mosque is closed right now because of the prayer. I'm gonna cover it later. I'm gonna show you the Blue Mosques inside later, okay? You can see the restorations everywhere, you know. Everywhere is under restoration because it is really important. We need restorations. If you don't restore it, yeah, probably these buildings are not gonna stand like this. And this is not only just a mosque, everybody. You can see there is a special ramp over there. Actually, the sultans were riding horses. They were on horseback all the time, and they were going up from there. And there is a special room for them. There is a special terrace balcony. We call it Hünkar Mahfili, Sultan's Lodge, and they were praying their prayers up in there. They were not going enter from common gate. You could tell there were a lot of assassination threats back then, so they were praying their prayers with their guards. Okay, look at this beautiful view from the gate of the outer courtyard of the Blue Mosque. We can see the Hagia Sophia right here. It's beautiful. Let's go. And some bazaar, a Rasta bazaar down in there. They get revenue for the mosques. And some soup kitchens for the poor people, some caravanserai buildings like dormitories for the passengers of the Silk Road. It was a complex, not just a mosque, and we call these mosques Salatin mosques. And yeah, if you're a sultan, if you're a wife of a sultan, if you are a member of royal family, you could build mosques with 4 minarets. And as I mentioned, only the Blue Mosque is built with 6 minarets. And let's have a look at the Blue Mosque's 6 minarets, everybody. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the best point to take a photo. Let's take a photo here. It's beautiful. There is a main dome, and it's flanked by half domes with 4 half domes. And around the half domes, you can see smaller half domes. I'm going to show them from inside of the mosque too. Lots of domes, and it was built in 17th century. And actually, the Blue Mosque is really new. For Turkish people, yeah, it's just a new mosque, because when you look at the Hagia Sophia across, Hagia Sophia Mosque, which was a church, Greek Orthodox church, and it was built in 6th century AD. Between 532, 537, in 5 years, they built this magnificent building. And this is 1,500 years old. Look at that. This is Hagia Sophia, everybody. It's under restoration right now. You can see minarets here too. It was originally a church, and it was used as a church 900 years. Then the Turks conquered the city. They converted it into a mosque. It was used 400 years, maybe more, as a mosque. And in 1935, actually, the Ataturk, the leader of Turks, made it museum. They made it a mosque again, and down floor is a mosque right now. That's why only the prayer people, the Muslim people, can enter down floor. All tourists can go up the upper gallery, and you can see the beautiful mosaics, paintings, frescoes up in there. And yeah, you can see the down floor too from upper gallery, actually. And it's a half mosque and half museum right now. And what a great restoration works going on right now. Probably I'm gonna cover the Hagia Sophia later. I would like you to see the interior of the Hagia Sophia. I'm planning to show you more, everybody. So please like and subscribe. Look at there. There is an Ottoman bath house, which was built during the reign of Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent by his wife, Hürrem Sultan, the famous Roxolana. But actually, there was a Roman bath right here, you know. We had excavations in this area. Actually, this area was a Roman bath. and they covered back. It's really hard to preserve all those things when you excavate. You need money. You have to restore them. You have to keep them tight. It's really hard. A lot of people coming here. We need a space like this. I'm not sure. Maybe they're gonna excavate that area later too, like the Hippodrome. I'm not sure when they're gonna excavate the Hippodrome. But yeah, as I told you, they were planning. And here we can see the Blue Mosque again. And right here, you can see the big monumental domed buildings. And there are no minarets. This is not a mosque. This is actually a tomb. The monumental tomb of the sultans. And the famous Sultan Ahmed I buried here with his son, with his sons and wife. Okay. You can see simits here. We Turkish people love eating simit, S-I-M-I-T, sesame bread. There are sesame seeds on it, and it's really delicious. And a lot of people selling chestnuts, roasted chestnuts and corns. Also, you can see it's the summertime. We have ice cream people here. They are selling ice cream. Okay, let's talk about Constantine the Great. Yeah, he became the sole emperor of the empire. Actually, he had a battle with Maxentius, Milvian Bridge battle, the famous Milvian Bridge battle. We know that he had a vision, he had a dream. We are not sure, but he saw the monograms of the Jesus Christ. He had his soldiers' shields covered with those monograms, and he managed to win the battle. He was able to win the battle, and then he had another battle with Licinius near the Üsküdar, with its old name Chrysopolis in the Aegean side, and he also won that battle too, and he became the sole emperor of the empire. He didn't go back Rome. He didn't go back to Rome, and he brought a lot of governors to here, to Istanbul, to Constantinople. He made this city the new capital of the Roman Empire. Nova Roma, New Rome, Nea Roma. And this is the second capital of the Roman Empire, not Byzantine Empire. They never called themselves Byzantines. They always called themselves Romans, Roman Empire. And this is just the new capital of the Roman Empire. It was a vast empire, and this is the heartland of the empire. This is the best place to govern the whole empire. And he made this city the new capital of the Roman Empire. Istanbul, Constantinople also was built on 7 hills like Rome. Right here there is a cafe restaurant named 7 Hills. It's a nice coincidence. I was not really planning to mention about 7 Hills right here, but yeah, if you go up there, you can see beautiful view of Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, the old peninsula. Now we are backside of the Hürrem Sultan Hammam, right? And we can see the Hagia Sophia right in there still. And yeah, he built his own palace right here. There is a Magnaula Palace here. There was another Daphne Palace over there. Down, we talked about a little bit, Bukaleon Palace. It was probably a later period. It was built during the reign of Theodosius II. And right here, it's still under restoration, under excavation. Actually, they were planning to build some hotel here, I'm not sure, but okay, right here there was a gate called Chalke Gate, and it was a ceremonial gate for the Great Palace, as I told you, from the Hagia Sophia side to the Blue Mosque and down to the Marmara Sea. It was a terraced palace buildings all over this area, and there was a gate here called Chalke Gate. It was a ceremonial gate for the Great Palace, and actually This is the place where the iconoclasm started. Can you believe it? Iconoclasm started right here. Above the gate there was a Jesus Christ mosaic panel. We call it Calque Jesus. And they started to remove the mosaics from the everywhere, you know. It started in 8th century AD during the reign of Leo III. And one woman named Theodosia, she came here and she tried to prevent them removing the Jesus face from the gate. She knocks the soldier down and then they killed her. Yeah, unfortunately, she's a martyr and iconoclasm started. So we're gonna talk about it later. Maybe we're gonna cover detailed historical stories. But I just want to show you these monumental tombs here again. Famous sultans Selim II, Murad III, and Mehmed III buried right here in the courtyard of the Hagia Sophia. So if you walk this way, we can see the entrance of the first courtyard of the Topkapı Palace. And so I can show you the entrance of the Hagia Sophia. I'm planning to come here again to cover all Topkapı Palace and the Hagia Sophia again later, okay? Oh, look at the peoples. Ahead of us you can see the first courtyard, first entrance, Bab-ı Hümayun, the imperial gate of the Topkapı Palace. Let's go back to the Hippodrome area. Let me give you a brief history about Turkey, Republic of Turkey. Actually, in 1911, the first Italians attacked to Libya. Libya was under the governance of the Ottoman Empire. It was the land of the Ottoman Empire, actually. Ottoman Empire was a huge, vast empire. It is one of the biggest empire in the world. And the Ottoman Empire, before Ottomans, actually the Selçuks, Turks, established the first empire here in Anatolia, in modern-day Turkey. And Turkish people are coming from Central Asia. We are the nomadic tribes, we are the nomadic people. And we didn't have these palace buildings, marble stones, nothing back then. We were living in tents and we were moving with our herds. And then they came here, they had a battle with the Romanos, Diogen in 1071, the famous Manzikert battle. And after that battle, the Turkish people entered to Anatolia. We know that actually Turks were here before that, but officially, actually after that battle, they came here and they landed here and they started to establish their first empire, Selçuk Empire, and then Mongols came and they defeated the Selçuks, and it was the time of the principalities. So many famous Turkic tribes, they made their own principalities, and then later one of them, the Ottomans, the famous ruler Osman Bey, the first ruler, Osman, the Ottomans were the strongest principality, and they grew more and more, and they made the Bursa. It's not far from the Istanbul, almost 2 hours away from Istanbul. They made the Bursa, the city, their first capital. Just here for the Blue Mosque, it's a nice view. And then they conquered the Edirne, Hadrianopolis. It is actually the second capital of the Ottoman Empire. Then, as I told you, in 15th century, 1453, they conquered the city. The Sultan Mehmed II, who conquered this city in 15th century, 1453, and he made this city the new capital of the Roman Empire. And actually, he didn't change its name the Turks, they just added the Turkish suffix and they called it Constantiniye. That means the city of Constantine. It is exactly the same meaning of the Constantinople. Okay, here we go. Now we are hearing the azan. It is time to prayer, noontime prayer. Let's listen. You can understand they are saying by taking turns. Yeah, it came from Hagia Sophia now. It's alive. It's not a recording. And actually there are spiral stairs inside of those minarets. And we didn't have microphone or speakers back at the time. And the priests, imams actually, and his assistants, they were going up from those spiral stairs. And you can see little balconies and terraces, minarets, and they were directing, they were facing to all directions, and they were shouting with their naked voices and called people to prayer at the same time. Now, of course, nobody's going up anymore. They are just singing down in the mosque by using microphone. And they are saying the God is great and there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the prophet of the God, and come to the prayer, come to the salvation. God is great, God is the greatest. Okay, here let me show you Ottoman times water balance tower here. Actually, it is the place where the Million Stone stood. If you have been to Rome, you can understand what I meant. In Rome, there is Millennium Aurelium, and they were measuring all the distances from there. It was the 0 point. It was the center. Okay, the tram is coming. They are really fast. Be careful when you walk here, when you cross the tramway, streets. Sometimes people just taking photos by not looking around them, and they are really fast. It's dangerous. You have to be careful. You have to stop. You have to wait for them. Run. Yes, one part of the Million Stone monument. Here we can see this is the 0 point of the Constantinople, and there is a street right here, this tram line street. It's a D1 street. It's a procession road, and it was called Messe. Here you can see Yes, starting point of the roads of the Roman Empire. Yeah, it was built after the model of the Millennium Aureum, golden milestone in Rome, and it was used as a reference point to measure the distance of all roads to the capital. And actually, they started to excavate here. Look at that. They found something under the soil. It was a dirt. It was a little hill here. If you dig somewhere here in Istanbul, you find something. Exactly. If you dig anywhere in the old city, you're gonna find something. Yes, I was telling you. Wow, what an enthusiasm. The great chanting, singing of the Azan here from Hagia Sophia side. Yeah, in the Great Palace area from Blue Mosque to the Hagia Sophia and down to the Marmara Sea was a terraced palace buildings. Today, if you go there, there are lots of hotels, pensions, restaurants, and if you go any of them, probably they're gonna tell you, hey, you want to see some old stuff, some mosaics, some frescoes, or some little church, chapels, or underground storage buildings of the Great Palace? Come with us, and they take you to the basement of the building, and probably you're gonna see the underground buildings of the Great Palace. It's really amazing, unbelievable. We are sitting on a historical peninsula which goes back to the 7,000 or 8,000 almost years back, and lots of people lived in here. There were a lot of earthquakes, fires, and it's a long time, and all layer and layer and covered with all those historical buildings, cultural sites. It's really amazing. No matter where you look, you see something from thousands years ago or 100 years ago, ancient times, Roman times, even before, mosques, underground buildings. For example, you see the yellow building over there. Under it, there is the largest cistern of Istanbul, the Basilica cistern. We call it Yerebatan Sarnıcı. That means sunken palace, Basilica cistern. It is the largest cistern. You know, the Rome has a river called Tiber. Actually, the Constantinople also had a river called Lycus, but it dried up. That's why they needed to build so many cisterns here. And we know that almost 300 cisterns here in the oldest city, and half of it we can somehow enter. Largest cistern, sunken palace cistern, Yerebatan Sarnıç, Yerebatan cistern, down in there. You can see the line over there, people going and entering, and you just come out from other side. It is one of the famous place highlight here in the historical peninsula, Sultanahmet Square. You can see. Okay, Firuze Aga Mosque over there. They say it's from 15th century. Of course, it was restored other period. I also have to step aside. The tram's running. You gotta be careful here. Okay. Hagia Sophia here. The Hürrem Sultan bathhouse over there, the Blue Mosque over here, the famous Message Street. If you go straight ahead, you're gonna end up at the land walls of the city. During the reign of Theodosius II, 5th century AD, he surrounded the old city with the land walls. And today we have Marmara Sea walls down in there, and the land walls, and the other side, the Golden Horn side. Probably we're gonna go there later. We're gonna cover it some other day. Yes, maybe we can walk the land walls one day. Almost 21 kilometers long, and it's surrounding the old city. It is amazing. It is something else. And Turks conquered the city by cracking those walls with huge, gigantic cannons and Shahi cannons, it's called. Yeah, we can talk about everything later, guys. We can talk almost hours here. We can mention about almost the whole history, but it's gonna take a lot of time. I'm just here for some highlights for today. Maybe later we're gonna cover everything. And it's never ending. It's never ending. It's really amazing. I became a tourist guide licensed. I got my license in 2007 or something. Yeah, I don't even remember, but yeah, I'm studying and I'm learning new things every day. I'm learning new things every day, never ending. Of course, some of you may be not interested so many detailed historical facts, but I know some of you want to know a lot more and more. So this is my first video, so we can make a form later. We can make our standard according to your reactions, so we can cover other places, other issues, other stories. Okay, we just came back to the Hippodrome now. Okay, I need to make sure my camera is on, my microphone is on. Okay, yeah, it's really hard for me. I just bought a microphone, and actually this is my first try. This is really good. It's really nice. And now, as I told you, we came back to the Hippodrome, and you can see the German fountain here. Yeah, during the reign of Abdulhamid II, one of the latest sultans of the Ottoman Empire in 19th century and 20th century. This is a monumental fountain. As I told you, they made this thing in Germany and they ship it. Look at inside, you can see the beautiful mosaics, golden mosaics, and here William II's monogram. On the left hand side you can see the Abdulhamid II's monogram, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. People drinking water here, and they are washing their hands, their faces. And from here, probably this place, this area was the Carceres, 12 gates, and those charioteers started to race from here, and they were a little bit slightly leaning spin a wall like this, and they were turning 7 laps. And yeah, 12 gates, 7 laps. Actually, there are some orders. There are some cosmical orders. Yeah, I also doing some AI videos recently. I have a lot of study notes. I'm making some AI voiceover them, and using some image illustrations and trying to make some documentaries, and probably I'm gonna publish them too, so you can see and listen stories of Istanbul. Yes, from here another view of the Blue Mosque. Yeah, we were talking about the history of the Republic of Turkey, right? Yeah, in 1911, the first Italians came, and in 1912 and 13 we had Balkan Wars, Thrace, right? The Bulgaria, the Greece, that area, and we lost. We had we got defeated actually. And then the First World War started. It took 4 years, and it was also a disaster for us. And in 1918, actually, in 1919, 1920, the Ottoman powers invaded Turkey, Istanbul, Izmir. The all British soldiers, French, Italians, And also at the same time, the Russians were attacking from the eastern part of Turkey, the Armenians, from all angles. Yeah, we were invaded by all these powers, and we were lucky because in 1917 Russian Revolution happened, and the Russians withdrew, and then we had treaties with French, Italy, but unfortunately the famous 1920 treaty called SER gave us just today's capital Ankara, the modern day Turkey's capital Ankara, the middle part, the heartland of Turkey, and around it, just a little place. The last Sultan, Sultan Mehmed VI, yeah, he was in the European side palace, not Topkapı Palace. We have a palace which was built in 19th century during the reign of Abdülmecid the Sultan, 1843 and 1856. He was in there, it was like a prison, you know. There was nothing to do actually. According to him, he had nothing to do. He was about to sign the treaty. But at the same time, the leader of Turks, we call him Atatürk, that means the leader of Turks, who founded the Republic of Turkey in 1923. He was a general, and he was sent to rural area of the Anatolia of Turkey by the Sultan. And actually he went there as an inspector general. He is the one who said, no, this is unacceptable. We cannot accept, we cannot sign this treaty. And he started to make some councils, and he explained all the situation to the Turkish people, nation, and Atatürk, Mustafa Kemal, his original name. He started to fight with Greeks, and it took almost 3 years from 1990 to 1922, and we won that battle. And after that battle, we call it Independence War in our national history. After that battle, yeah, Treaty of Lausanne, and since 1923, it's the democratic secular Republic of Turkey. And of course, all those places, and for example, the Blue Mosque is a mosque from the beginning, and it's still a mosque, and that's why we cannot enter right now because it's prayer time. And Hagia Sophia was a museum. I told you it became a mosque also. And the Topkapı Palace is a museum right now. So we covered this area, the Hippodrome, the Serpent Column, an Egyptian column. Now I am planning to enter to the Blue Mosque. We just enter from the other side right now. Actually, there was a seat here, the Hippodrome seat. It was sitting here, and they took it to museum, I think. It was one part from the Hippodrome. You can see these marbles again down here. Probably they used these marbles by taking some ancient seats or parts of the Hippodrome, and they used here. And maybe they have some reliefs on them, but they put them inwards so nobody see them. Islamic perception, you cannot use the figurative elements, ornaments in prayer areas. For example, inside the mosque, you cannot see a fresco or mosaic or a man or a human or an animal, nothing. The Islamic artists became good at making these floral designs and all these geometric designs. And the architect of this mosque is Sedefkar Mehmet Aga. He was a musician too. Also, he was an artisan of the mother of pearl. He was a polymath. And he built this mosque in 17th century between 1609 and 1616. In 7 years, they built this great mosque. Once we enter, you're gonna see the beautiful blue tiles inside the mosque, and they're gonna open it soon. I just want you to see here So if you come to Istanbul, you can see, you can find here, and this is the place for the tourists. And it says the mosque is closed to the visitors in time of congregational prayers. Okay, they're gonna open it 15 minutes later. So Sultanahmet I is the 14th Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, everybody. 14th Sultan. We had uh, we had 36 sultans. We had 36 sultans in Ottoman history, and he was the 14th Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. When he was 14 years old, he became a sultan, and actually he just lived 14 years more after becoming a sultan. When he was 28 years old, he died. He died because of the illness of typhus at that time. Yeah, Sultan Ahmed I is really very important sultan because he banned the fratricide. After the conquest of the Constantinople, the Sultan Mehmed II made a new law. He said, for the integrity of the empire, and even my sons, can kill each other. And actually, they were stepbrothers. I mean, the sultans had a lot of wives. Actually, they had a lot of concubines because the Ottoman Empire is a hereditary dynasty. It's not like the Roman Empire or Byzantine Empire. And they were killing of each other because they were governors. They were assigned to other cities, other regions. Sultan Ahmed I actually made a new rule. He said, oldest male member of the family will become the new sultan. Yeah, that's a new rule. So what about the other brothers? They were sent to the cages. Yeah, we call it cages. It's not a real cage, of course. It's clean rooms in the Topkapı Palace. It was actually luxury prisons for them, because they were under surveillance all the time. They were guarded. They couldn't go out without a permission. They lived in there. Yeah, they were under watch. They were like prisoners. They stayed in there. For example, Osman III, when he was 4 years old, he was sent to the cage and he stayed in there 50 years. And when he was 54 years old, they told him, you are the new sultan now. Okay, you can ascend the throne. Wow, waiting 50 years like a prisoner, and then you become a sultan. And he just lived another 3 more years, and he died when he was 57 years old. Okay, now we can go, everybody. Beautiful Marmara Sea marbles here. It's like walking on the water, Spatial gray wings on it. Let me show you again the dress code. And from here, the narrow entrance, you can use the bench on the right hand side here. And like this, there is a carpet. It's not a carpet, but there is a rat here. No shoes here. You gotta take off your shoes here, and you gotta take your shoes with you and enter to the Blue Mosque. Okay, let's go. Another narrow entrance. And as I mentioned, you can see the beautiful, there's a step here, be careful. You can see the beautiful mother of pearl inlaid on doors. Look at them, beautiful. The architect, Sedefkar, that means the artisan of the mother of pearl. Sedefkar Mehmet Aga built this mosque in 17th century, and look at that. I just want to take you to the middle of the mosque, so you can see the whole interior, whole dome. The ladies, women praying back here, and the man is praying front side. And here, let's have a look at the dome. It's beautiful. There is an Arabic text, Surah al-Nur. It says Allah is the light of the earth and heavens. Generally in church domes you see the Jesus Christ, Pantocrator Jesus Christ. He also says, I am the light of the world. Okay, this is the Qibla wall over there. In the middle of the Qibla wall, there is a gilded niche here. There's a gilded niche here. It is the mihrab. It is showing the direction of Kaaba Mosque. If you're a Muslim, to pray your prayer, you have to come and face towards the Mecca direction. They are bowing, they are touching their foreheads to the ground. And you can see the stained glasses over there, generally blue colored. And if you look at the second floor, the upper gallery, you can see the tiles up in there. And the upper gallery walls all covered with Islamic tiles, and there are 20,146 tiles here. Of course, I didn't count, but they say 20,146 tiles. They are all covering in upper gallery walls, and above the walls, these are frescoes. These are not tiles. Just these upper gallery walls, they are all covered with Islamic tiles like this. And above, you can see the frescoes, paintings, and inside the dome walls, they are all paintings. Just these walls are covered with tiles and Islamic tiles. Tiles, actually, the Turkish tiles are great, but of course the China is the best. China, we learned this porcelain tile art from Chinese people. Actually, Timur-Lane, we had a battle with Timur-Lane, right, in 1402, Ankara battle. It was really a turning point, because after that battle, the Ottoman interregnum started. It took 11 years. The empire was almost about to end. But then later, somehow, one of the Sultan's son, Çelebi Mehmet, ascended the throne, got the power, and the Ottomans continued. The Ottoman Empire continued. And the Timur-Lane brought a lot of artists with him. He left them here, and they made great tiled mosques, tombs in Bursa. You can go and see them. Actually, first we were using the turquoise tiles, and then later, tile makers fire their clays to make these tiles. When you use the colored painting drawings, the colors mixing each other when you fire them. Then they started to use Spanish dry thread technique. They were using that manganese pan, and when you fire the clay, that manganese rises up and it becomes like a wall, and it prevents color mixing each other. And they are really beautiful, but if you look at them closely, they are nice. But if you look at them from distance like this, they look a little bit black and dirty. It's not good for the huge areas like this, like mosques. That's why the Turks started to use transparent glaze, and they started to make these beautiful Islamic tiles. Look at them. They did their drawings, they painted them freehand, and then they used the white glaze, transparent glaze, and they fire them. Look at them. And it's really hard to understand from here, but those rats, actually, the coral rat, we say it, it's really hard to make it. If you run your finger over those tiles, you can understand that raised red color. And they made these beautiful Islamic tiles. I mean, they look really brand new. They made them yesterday, but they are almost 400 years old, like this mosque. And especially in the mornings, when the sun rises up from their eastern part of the mosque, and the sunshine goes through those stained glasses, and the light shimmered off those tiles, and inside of the mosque becomes the blue world. And that's why all that Wagon Lee company train passengers, the Orient Express passengers who came to Istanbul at the end of the 19th century, they saw this blue scene inside the mosque, and they started to call this mosque Blue Mosque. And it's famous all over the world with the name of Blue Mosque, but actually it is not the official name. We call this mosque the Sultanahmet Mosque because Sultanahmet I commissioned this mosque in 17th century between 1609 and 1616, and it's called Sultanahmet Mosque. Look at them, all floral designs, geometric designs, and generally you see the tulip designs. Tulip actually is the most characteristic Turkish design. You can see on the carpets. By the way, all these carpets are the machine carpets. They are not handmade carpets, but back then they were all covered with handmade carpets. You can see the tulips everywhere, especially on the tiles. The tulip, in Turkish we call tulips lale. The word of lale, let me spell it for you, L-A-L-E. Lale is written with two L letters, and the name of God, Allah, in Arabic, let me spell it to A-L-L-A-H, Allah. It's also written with two L letters. And you can see they use the lale, the tulips, both of them were written with two L letters, and the lale, the tulip, is symbolizing the heaven, and other carnation, the other floral designs, geometrical designs, and the beautiful writing system everywhere. And these thick columns, we call them elephant legs. There is one here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 big, thick, almost 5 meters in diameter columns here, and they are all supporting this big dome. Look at the dome. It's almost 23 meters in diameter. It's really beautiful. From ground to the top, it's almost 43 meters. By the way, we're gonna go to the Hagia Sophia later. Hagia Sophia is older and higher and larger than this. One main dome is flanked with 4 half domes. Look at their half domes. One here, another one here, here, and here. One main dome is flanked with 4 half domes, and if you look at around the half domes, you can see smaller half domes. From outside, they look like, the pyramid. Dome has spiritual meanings, symbolizing the heaven, but also it gives you a great space down in here for the congregation prayers. You need to build a big dome, giant dome, and you don't have to columns down here, just elephant legs like this, and you have a great space down in here for congregational prayers. There's a pulpit over there. You can see on Fridays Muslims come to mosque and pray their prayers, and generally we pray 5 times in a day. And on Friday noontime prayer, the imam giving some sermon from the pulpit. People who don't pray 5 times in a day, generally they come to mosque uh, once in a week on Fridays, noontime prayer, so they can hear sermon too. So let me show you this area too again. And we are going out from here. So, okay, this is it for today. I know we haven't been into Hagia Sophia yet, but I'm planning to go there in another day. So we're gonna cover the interior of the Hagia Sophia and one day to the Topkapı Palace, and then later maybe we can go to the Grand Bazaar area, the new city side. There are a lot of things to see in Istanbul, everybody. I mean, if you are here just for one day, okay, the most famous attractions, Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia and Grand Bazaar is enough for you. But if you are here a few days more, you can see the Topkapı Palace, other palaces, maybe Bosphorus tour or the new city side. But if you want to see the whole city, maybe you gotta live in here like me, and trust me, even me, I didn't see all of it yet. And with you, maybe we can discover all of it. And I'm really happy to cover all these places today. Okay, everybody, I just want to say bye to you for now and see you later. Bye bye.